Hello, everyone. I'm Thom. It's been years since this coronavirus disruption started, and I've been taking this time to eat beef jerky and talk to you on the internet. I'm not an expert or a food critic, I just like beef jerky. But this vlog has been good fun, and it's letting me explore some fun ideas with you, especially regarding game design. So, let me get my house in order here. Today I'm featuring some quality beef jerky given to me by a good friend of the show, Adam Para. This is Kroger brand Teriyaki Smokehouse jerky, straight from him, and I'm going to review it. But I think this is not a round numbers episode. I think it's episode 68. And today I wanted to talk about something that I think is interesting. You may not think is interesting, but I think it's a signpost for everybody who thinks about technology. So let me introduce you to what some people are calling the cheap yellow display. Yeah. So this is a bit of an electronic piece. I recognize it very easily because I've been playing with these electronics for years. You got your little screen that's not very big. It's, size of 3 fingers, 2.8 inches across or diagonally. And it's a little board. It's got a reasonably powerful chip controlling it all. It's got room for an SD card, which gives it tremendous amounts of memory storage ability. It's got a USB plug, so you can plug it straight into your computer and program it with very easy, free programming tools. It's got another plug designed for just, powering it with batteries or a wall plug or something. It's got an amplifier and a little jack to hook a speaker up so it can do speaker as well as screen. It can do sound as well as graphics. And it's got 2 very standardized user interface connectors to connect devices like input devices of various kinds. So it's a very all-around kind of collection of stuff that I've been playing with for years, but this collection of stuff got put together. Nonsense. So my phone interrupts me, and now my church bells interrupt me. That's okay. But anyway, what I was saying is that this little baby does it all. Okay, it doesn't do it all, but it's an agglomeration of little bits and pieces that together make for convenience for anyone rapid prototyping small electronic devices. And so the shocker here is that this baby I can get for as low as $10 per unit. $10 for screen, connection to a speaker, all the little ports connected properly, all pre-tested to work with existing development tools. If I go to Amazon, I'll get it for $20. But if I go to AliExpress, I can get it for a range of prices. And of course, you take your not your life, but certainly your money in hand when you go to AliExpress. Hopefully you don't get scammed. But again, I've seen the cheapest at $10 for that board. 15 is a very common price for that board, complete with the screen. I think you can get a $20 one that comes with a memory card. And the reason that I found this recently, of course, besides the fact that this kind of electronic stuff I've been playing with for years, and I have a lot of fun working with it. But the reason I found it is I stumbled across a YouTube video. A gentleman not only describing it and saying, hey, this, what he calls the cheap yellow display, is available, and it's available for dirt cheap, but he had also taken the time to provide a great deal of example code and helpful structure for people just getting started with the device, and putting it all on GitHub where anyone could get it for free. So, and this is a really interesting pattern, first off, in electronics and electronics hobbyist stuff that I've seen since I was a kid playing with LEDs and 555 timer chips that I bought straight from Radio Shack when Radio Shack had such things. And that is that electronics are cheap. The surprising thing is, aside from a few things like really large display screens, um, electronics are dirt cheap. They're not an expensive hobby at all. And you can go further than that, and maybe you've heard me talk about this rant before, but it's been a long time. So you can, as a hobbyist, go find big companies like Mouser, like DigiKey, these companies that sell little electronics parts to you. And they will give you great service and great price. And often you'll get great customer service too. And there's a reason for that, and that is because someday you may be the person who calls up and orders 500,000 of their chips because you've built a huge company that makes a lot of electronics based on your electronics design. The way you got started, whether you're a professional, whether you're a hobbyist, whichever your skill level is, it all looks the same. To those companies, the people who eventually turn out the huge orders are the people who look just like hobbyists. They're all the same. They all, order the same initial batches, and they all order from the same places, and they all have the same little workspace in their basement or their garage or whatever. The professionals and the hobbyists essentially are the same thing, which means that as a hobbyist, you get treated like a professional and you get your goods. And in fact, depending on the trade show you go to, you can get your hands on a lot of cool free stuff in the electronic space. Just because, again, these companies that sell chips and parts, they don't know who you are, but you might be the person to buy half a million parts from them someday. So they got to be nice to anybody. It reminds me of the ancient old story of the 6502 chip, which was the chip, the microprocessor in the Apple II and the Commodore 64, the VIC-20, the Atari 2600, and many other computers besides. In the 70s when it came out, Moss Tech, the company that made it, was this very small company. And they got a whole bunch of them produced. And in that day especially, but the truth is that when you get a chip produced by a company, you get a lot of fails. You get a lot of chips made in the chip fab that you put them on the checker and they don't pass the test, and so they're trash. But they're still yours, so you get. So Moss did this thing very famously, that they showed up at a trade show for electronics, and they showed up with a big wooden barrel, and they showed it, and it was filled to the brim with 6502 chips. And so they had a huge line out the door of people coming in, people from all different companies coming in, and hobbyists all coming in and just buying a few dollars worth of these magical new microprocessor chips to go off and see what they could do with them. And what no one knew is that Moss didn't have enough to fill the barrel, so they filled the bottom half of the barrel with the rejects. So only the top half of the barrel had working 6502 microprocessors. And you would think, why didn't Mostech just find the really big companies, the big, the professionals, and hand out chips directly to them? And this gets back to what I was saying, is that from a chip manufacturer's, from a competent manufacturer's perspective, no one can tell the difference. When Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs were building the original Apple computer, which used the 6502, they were doing it in Wozniak's garage, and no one had any idea that would lead to Apple. So what I'm saying is that when you're an electronics hobbyist, everything's fairly cheap, and you get treated very well. And another aspect of the whole thing is, and as part of that, is that nothing's stopping. Technology does not stop. Things are smaller, faster, more powerful, and cheaper than ever before. Just like every year before it. It's an engine. It never stops. All the electronics are cheaper. All the devices are faster. All the parts are smaller and more available. It's just from an electronics point of view, this kind of pattern never stops, which is why this cheap yellow display device that I was talking about, which is kind of an all-in-one. It integrates the screen and the various connectors and the underlying and supporting electronics that it hook it up to the PC and make it easily programmable. So all that stuff, is available to me between $10 and $20 today when I'm doing this video in November 2023. But I could have built this myself, where I could have essentially scraped together all the parts, and it would have cost me $30, $40, $50 to rebuild and connect and get all the same functionality. So, obviously electronics is not just about consolidation, but it doesn't change the fact that every year that I play with electronics, I find new amazing electronics. I think it was just last year that the Raspberry Pi Pico chip came on the marketplace in January of that year. I think it was last year. Crazy, powerful chip, amazing chip on a circuit board, $5. For many, many, many times the power of those old Commodore 64s and Apple II computers. $5. So technology never stops, and things are easier and cheaper than ever. So maybe if it's your turn to build a Furby, or a cool toy wrist device, or anything else that has a little brain inside, or some electronics, there's simply never a better time than now. And that's a statement I could have been saying for a very, very long time. All right, let's get to the main purpose here, which is beef jerky. I've said before that Adam Para sent me this Kroger Teriyaki Smokehouse beef jerky. Thank you, Adam. Looks lovely. Can I open it? Yeah, it opens easily. All right. Just dropped it. Nothing got loose. All right. That's a kind of a big piece. I'll break it up. If I can. Yeah, I can. There we go. This is like, nice, thick, meaty thing. Let's give it a try. Good. It's very mild, which I like. Thanks, Adam. A few episodes back, if you've been watching, I had some Ortegas, I think, jerky given to me wonderfully by my nephews, and that's very brittle and very thin, almost like the consistency of a potato chip jerky. This Teriyaki Smokehouse barbecue jerky is the exact opposite. It's very thick. It's very juicy. I wouldn't say it's greasy, but I would say it's juicy. So all in all, a big win. I really like this teriyaki stuff. Thanks, Adam. All right. So we talked about the jerky, and we talked about the brand new cheap yellow display device, and how it kind of is a harbinger of the continuing pattern of cheap, easy to get, powerful hobbyist electronics. And that's really what I wanted to say. But you know what? If we look back on last episode, Adam spoke up about my video where I mentioned Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks and that kind of thing. He says he wasn't such a big fan of that, and I get that. I think Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks are very much a kind of a you do or you don't kind of a thing. I've certainly met my share of people who would watch an episode with me and go, I wish they wouldn't talk and make jokes and stuff. I'm trying to listen to what the actual movie's about. Which, so it's, yeah. But people who like Mystery Science Theater, they don't need to know what the dialogue of the bad movie is saying, because it's a bad movie. You're just cracking jokes. But I get it. It's certainly not for everybody. And he also commented and congratulated Darren and Neela, because Darren and Neela gave me the jerky that I reviewed last time, which was also very good. I ate it all. I'm probably going to eat all this. I'm going to try to stretch it out, not eat it all in one sitting, though. All right. Thanks again for watching my video. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.